This is your market update for the month of May 2021. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching this. My name is Elliott with the Elliott Real Estate team of RE/MAX Action. Excited to deliver to you your monthly market update. The story, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that the biggest story in real estate right now is the deficit, the scarcity of inventory that we are experiencing right now. If you look at this graphic over my shoulder, you will see the available amount of listings in 2021 compared to that of 2020 in the last few months of December and Q1. And as you can see, we're almost sitting at about 60% of available listings than we were last year. And last year was very much a seller's market. We're in an extreme seller's market right now just due to the lack of inventory. If you look at the year-over-year change, you will see the amount of new listings is up 40%. From this time last year. Of course, this time last year, we were kind of in the depth of coronavirus and the concerns and the fears there, and nobody wanting to put their home on the market or move. So the number of listings are up, or number of new listings are up, but as you will see, total listings continue to take a deep dive, and we are down 53% of total listings compared to this time last year. Once again, just driving home that point, we have an extreme shortage of homes for market. So begs the question everybody's asking, when will inventory levels return? The honest answer is that nobody truly knows. We've got a lot of economists that are making predictions. 43% of the top economists say that we'll see inventory levels start to creep back up the second half of this year. Interesting though, about 38% of those say that we're not going to be seeing that inventory until 2022. And almost 10% of those say it's going to be 2023 or some year beyond. So really it's anybody's guess it right now, but it's definitely a question that a lot of folks are asking, especially folks out there looking to shop for a home, just thirsting for more homes to choose from. The good news is though, with all this lack of supply and a very high demand, homeowners are making up like bandits in this market. Anybody selling a home, the average profit per home is actually up 26% in Q1 of 2021 compared to Q1 of 2020, with the average homeowner profiting $70,000 from their home sale. So it's a very, very strong number for anybody out there selling a home in this market. And one thing I want to reiterate, we kind of talked about this last month, and if you've been following our content, we talk about this all the time. We are not in a bubble, or all the experts agree that we are not in a bubble. It is simply a lack of supply that we are experiencing, which is and a high amount of demand, which is continuing to drive prices up. It's simple supply and demand economics. We are not in a bubble. It's just simply we have a very high amount of demand, very low supply, continuing to drive prices up. One thing to watch out for, we've talked about this previously, mortgage rates, while they're at a good low point right now, and they did recently drop a little bit to sub 3%, those are predicted to continue to go up as we go on in the next year or two. Wouldn't be surprised by the end of 2022 if we're at 4% interest rates. Historically, still very cheap money, but just something to know if you're somebody that's been considering refinancing, you might want to go ahead and do that as rates are just scheduled to continue to rise. So what does this all mean for you? For sellers, definitely squeeze the opportunity out of this market. We talk about this every month, I feel like, but we're still seeing some sellers that are just slapping their homes on the market without doing any staging, without any proper marketing, with mispricing their homes. And the reality is, yes, that home still will sell, but the other reality is you're probably not taking full advantage of the market. I would highly recommend doing all the right things, doing the things that you would do in a slower market, which is going to ensure that your home sells and also ensure that it sells for the highest price, and you're really taking maximum advantage of the market that we're in. Another thing to watch out for, something I'm kind of curious to see how this plays out. Historically in our Richmond metro market, the higher end market tends to slow down once the kids get out of school in June, just because those are discretionary homes, discretionary purchases folks are making, and folks with discretionary income, when it comes to summertime, they're taking vacations, they're getting distracted with other things. So we're very curious to see if the higher end slows down just a tad, with a lot of folks being vaccinated now and kind of the world opening back up, if a lot of those potential buyers in the high-end market decide to go on vacation or do other things with their time and their money, as opposed to look and shop for homes. So something to watch out for, something we'll report back to you on. For buyers, man, you've really got to be on point with your offers in this market to get contracts accepted. We're seeing an average of 5 offers per home in the US. So you definitely want to make sure you're beefing up your offers with the right contingencies. Of course, offering a very high price is very important, but 2 other tips I'll give you is consider an inspection threshold. So we're seeing a lot of buyers waive inspections entirely. I'm not as big of a fan of that. Excuse me, but you can do what's called an inspection threshold, and that essentially says you set a dollar limit, $1,000, $2,500, $500, whatever you're comfortable with, and you say, hey, if there are any defects found that have a cost to cure of $500 or less, $1,000 or less, $2,500 or less, that you agree up front that you are not going to be requesting those items. So what that does is it takes all the smaller stuff off the table, communicates to the seller, hey, I'm not even going to have the right to ask for these items, but it does protect you against anything big coming up on the inspection report. So that way, if there's any foundational issues, any issues structural to the house, you can still negotiate those items and potentially get out of a contract if the seller's not willing to work with you on that. The appraisal guarantee, that just says, hey, we're bidding these properties up. If for whatever reason they don't appraise, I'm willing to guarantee $5,000, $10,000 in cash on top of whatever the appraised amount is, which just shows the seller that, hey, if the appraisal does come in short, I'm agreeing to kick in a certain amount of cash on top of the appraisal so that you're guaranteed to walk away with at least a certain amount over that appraised price if the property wasn't able to appraise. And then last but not least, one thing that we're doing with our clients now is we are switching up the types of financing they are getting to be able to free up their cash to make these inspection waivers and to make these appraisal guarantees. So for example, if somebody is looking at putting 5% down on a conventional loan, we might have the conversation with them that you might want to consider doing a 3% conventional loan, taking that additional 2%, keeping that in your back pocket so you can use that on these appraisal guarantees, waiving certain inspection items, so that way you have that cash in order to be able to make those offers to sellers. So I hope that makes sense. Thank you guys for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next month. If you have any questions, concerns about anything that was discussed, feel free to contact me. I look forward to seeing you next month.